Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another night of Live from Redfearn's Bar. Tonight is exactly our 2-month anniversary as we look forward to being joined by another well-loved former Barnsley player, our 17th guest so far. That means that exactly 2 months ago, we were sat here with Paul Heckingbottom, who is rumoured to have been sat on his indoor bike looking down on the screen. All our fingers crossed that the technology was going to work and hoping that doing this live for everyone was going to be much better than pre-recording it on a separate night. And so far, so good, I think, on that one. We've been blessed by some amazing guests and Barnsley legend, the likes of Craig Hignett, Neil Redfearn and Mick McCarthy have all dropped by for an hour of football chat while we've been stuck in lockdown. We've come to you via Calgary, Canada with Brendan O'Connell, Nice in France with Gauthier, and last week we were from Belgium with Brazilian Denis Souza. Tonight, though, we're sticking closer to home with a former Red who, despite only really having one full season at Oakwell, endeared himself to the faithful, was heavily involved in our most successful season ever and had a left foot to rival last Tuesday's guest, Darren Barnard. Good evening, Neil.
Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How is everything?
Yeah, a little bit different, strange. I mean, it's a good job the weather's good. At least you can get out and about and do stuff now. But it's a little bit strange when we're waiting to see if football's going to return. It was taking the first steady steps, so to speak. Hopefully we'll get to the next phase and then hopefully the games will get on and we can get this season finished and then hopefully look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Well, look, thanks for giving us your time and doing this. It's really appreciated. And thanks to fellow Barnsley fan Fraser for pulling in the family favour for us.
Yeah, he's good like that.
Look, we know you're currently under 23 coach at Sheffield Wednesday. Has it been challenging during the lockdown, keeping checked in with all the young players?
Well, it's funny because that's my official title, but this season I've been working with the first team since Gary Monk came in. I've sort of been up at, I think, back end of last season when Steve Bruce left. Gary came in after Lee Bullen was caretaker. Lee asked me to join in and give him a hand. Gary came in and me and Lee obviously stayed up there, and that's been the same all season. So I've been sort of taken away from the under 23 role a bit. So that's been sort of the job of Steve Haslam, Andy Holsworth, who you'll know very well, obviously. And they've been doing a good job, but I like to keep my eye on what the young players are doing and who has the potential to move forward and either whether they come and train with the first team or play and who's got that potential. And as regards the lockdown, it'll be the same with every club. They've been given training programs and the log in with the GPS every day, and so we can keep an eye on what they're doing and who's doing the work and who isn't. But still, I think it's been quite taxing and trying for a lot of them in terms of getting, certainly early on in lockdown, getting a grassed area to do what they need to do. And nothing, any football will tell you, nothing is like training on the grass in a group. That's what it's about. But you've got to keep ticking over and keep your levels high, and that's what they've been doing, as well as the first team squad have been doing as well.
And it looks like we're aiming for a 20th of June restart in the Championship. So it sounds like, have you been heavily involved with the first team squad when they've been coming back over the last few days?
Well, they started back not this Monday, last Monday. I think the protocol from the Championship and the Football League has been minimal staff in. So the first week, 10 days, has been a lot of fitness work, although they have been doing the work away from the training ground anyway on their own. So I've not been in as yet. We're waiting for the green light to go to the next phase, which is contact training, which is obviously what after a week, 10 days of running, you ask any footballer, they want to start, the proper stuff, get the balls out, getting small-sided games, getting your 11v11s. And, if we've got a 20th of June start, there's only less than 3 weeks, so that we need to keep kicking on with that.
And I know we're Championship rivals with you working with the first team, but what do you think is going to be the key to being successful in a behind-the-closed-door football setting?
It's a tough one because I've heard two arguments to say it'll sort of benefit the clubs at the top, but I think it'll be a real big leveler because you go to somewhere like a Fulham or a Leeds where they've got a really intimidating atmosphere, and Fulham, the crowd are really close, and they're quite difficult places to go. You go to Leeds and it's quite intimidating, the atmosphere, and Leeds, when they get on that roll, are really tough to play against. But that won't be there. So I think they've got to make their own atmosphere and their own motivation, whereas I think that might give clubs who are visiting a little bit more of a lift. But I think you're going to have to play on the front foot. You're going to have to play really positive and motivate yourself to do that. So it'll be really interesting in terms of results, in terms of performances and how teams play.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think there'll be a few random results, and there might not be much form. Look, going right back to the start of your career in 1980, sorry, your first club was Nottingham Forest. I know you didn't play, but what was it like signing as a junior for the European champions? And did juniors have to meet Mr. Clough before signing?
Yeah, that's a long time back. I joined a guy called Dave Fraser over. I live over towards Hull. He was the scout, and his son went there. I played with his son in Sunday League football, and he recommended me go there for a trial. And fortunately, I was picked up, and I went there the year after they won the second European Cup, as it was. So it was a club really at the height of the powers. Brian Clough was there, which was, he was a character. You didn't see loads of him, but you knew he was in the building, and you hadn't even seen him. That was the thing. He had such a presence about him. And whether he came down the corridor, you had to certainly stand to attention. You knew he was about. So he was quite ruthless. I remember going on a pre-season show with some under-19s, and it was quite brutal in the dressing room, shall we say. I was thankfully on the bench. I didn't play. And like, for me, looking frightened, but also trying to hide my laughter from some of his comments was, that was a real eye-opener. So, but yeah, I mean, I was only there a year and a bit until the scholarship then, or the apprenticeship was only till you were 18. So it wasn't the 2-year program you get now. So me being an October birthday, I only had really a season. And unfortunately, at the end of when I was coming to my 18th birthday, I got released. So, had a year, but it was certainly an experience which I don't think did me any harm whatsoever.
No, I'm sure not. And you went to Hull then, spent some time there, and then you played for Scarborough for 6 years, and then again towards the end of your career as a player and a manager. What kind of club was Scarborough, and how sad is it knowing they don't exist anymore, looking back?
Yeah, I go up to the northeast there, Whitby and Scarborough quite a bit, and when you drive past that ground, it's not there anymore, and it's a crying shame because, it was a lot of the clubs I've been at have had a real good family atmosphere about them, real togetherness, a real community spirit, and Scarborough was exactly that, and we took a little club, a very successful non-league club, into the Football League, and obviously we know the history of it now, but it was brilliant times. We had a great squad of players, but just going back, I joined Hull City, and Mike Smith was the manager, was the ex-manager of Wales. Joined there on, I think, as a pro on £42 a week, which is not exactly big money as in them days. And I made my league debut there, and unfortunately, I think I was there season and a half, played 30 odd games, and got runner-up in Young Player of the Year, and I got released. So it sort of in the space of 2-3 years, I'd had 2 free transfers, and I was thinking, where's this taking me now? And I got an offer to go down to Colchester by a coach who was at Hull City at the time called Cyril Lee. Gone to manage Colchester. And then I got the offer at Scarborough to play part-time football and get myself a job, which I did. Whether I was right to do that or not, but it's certainly juggling playing part-time and having a full-time job as well, juggling the training, juggling the games, juggling your job, because obviously you've got to go and do that. Then that's it gave me some really good life skills, I felt. I sold disposable nappies for a company called Produce UK Limited, a French company, which was brilliant. And then I went and joined Whitbread Take Home selling beer. So quite a spectrum there, but it was, I enjoyed the sales jobs. They were great. We went to Scarborough, playing part-time, and it all changed really when Neil Warnock took over. We'd done okay under John Cottam and a guy called Harry Dunn. And Neil, I remember he came to watch us. I found out afterwards at Nuneaton, and I was playing against Eddie McGoldrick, who went on and played at Arsenal and Palace, and I got an absolute pacing, and I think they won 5-0. So Neil came in about 2 weeks later, and he got rid of just about all the squad, bar me and another guy from Hull called Neil Sellers, and he brought a whole new squad in, and Neil does what he does really well, and that's get a spirit together and get a squad together and get that camaraderie, which is absolutely key. And he did that, and we went and won the league, and it was, just an incredible season, and it really brought home and if I look through all my career, I've had lucky enough to have 1 or 2 promotions. The key element to all of them is that team spirit and that real togetherness, that people want to go on that pitch and do anything for you to get a result. I remember in that season, I think we had 14 away wins on the bounce, and we had a titanic battle with Barnet, who were managed by Barry Fry, and Stan Flashman was the chairman. So there was a lot of banter going on between the two. And we had Kevin Blackwell was our goalkeeper, and he used to play for Barnet, and he travelled up from Luton every week to play. So it was quite interesting. But Neil had he's just got a touch. He just knows how to work it. He knows how to get a group of people on side and getting results. He's done it all through his career, and I think he was at Burton Albion just before he came to Scarborough, and I suppose that was his first sort of taste of getting into the limelight. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he certainly didn't do my career any harm, that is for sure.
No, not all. I mean, Ipswich reportedly then paid 100,000 for you when you joined there, which...
Oh, I'm treasuring every penny of that.
I tried to work out what it'd be worth in today's market, and I came up at 3.2 million, so that's not bad going.
100,000 in today's market is worth 100,000.
Oh, there you go.
So, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's where you had your first real high-profile success. So the 91-92 season and the Division 2 title. How good was that Ipswich team that you played with?
It was again that team spirit, and me going to Ipswich from a non-league team as it was, or we got promotion. We got promotion to Football League. We got knocked out in the semi-final of the playoffs the first season, and I just went in and asked for a new contract, as you do, and because I'd had a decent season, and suddenly 2 weeks later he tells me the manager was Colin Morris at the time. Neil had left. That Ipswich had put an offer in and it had been accepted, so couldn't get me down there quick enough. But John Duncan was the manager at the time, and after a year, I think he got the bullet, but he gave me my opportunity at that level. And when you're going from where I was to there, you're thinking, are you going to be able to cope with this level? When I looked at the players, and you're thinking, is your game capable of elevating? Luckily enough, it did. And then when John Lyle took over, he changed everything for us. He was a total football man from West Ham, fantastic coach, great people person. Again, get good people around him. Got the players on side, and that promotion team. Yeah, we had quite a settled side. We had good, experienced pros, but good pros who were honest, did the job. And you had your X Factor players, Jason Dazelle, Chris Kiwomya. They come up with a good time after time. But then you had your Dave Linnigans, John Walt played, he played at centre back, and he made it look like a stroll in the park. He was, that was one of the first people when I went to Ipswich. I saw John, and I'm thinking, this is the former young European Footballer of the Year, and I'm going to play in the team with him. And John didn't suffer fools. If you weren't capable, he'd let you know, that is for sure. So, yeah, I had a really good team spirit again. And we, a bit like the Barnsley scenario, really, even when you didn't play particularly well, you picked points up, and that's important. We got promotion, which was brilliant, which was superb, and to go into the Premier League was a massive deal for everybody.
Well, you answered my question on John Walk, so I'm going to fast forward to the summer of '96 and when you moved to Barnsley. So Danny Wilson brought you to Oakwell. Did any part of you know what was in store for the next 12 months when you signed?
It was, I'd had 7 seasons at Ipswich, and to get a free transfer, so that's my third free transfer, by the way, so that's not going great. But I'd had 1 or 2 injuries, so the last couple of years at Ipswich, which was frustrating. But I'd always seemed to perform when we played Barnsley. I don't know why, but I did. I remember one game in particular, although I don't know the score, but I had a really good game. And at the end of the season, I got released, and I didn't have an agent. I wrote to every single Football League club in the country to see if they wanted my services. I got about 15 replies. I went down to meet Pat Holland at Leyton Orient, and it was all right what they were offering. And I thought, well, I might just hang around and see if I can get a championship, Division 1 club as it was. And I don't know what it was, but I said to my wife one night, I said, I think Barnsley got a ring tomorrow. And she said, what? And this is, it sounds ridiculous, but this is actually what happened. The next day, Eric rung. And it was like, where's that come from? That's just like a bit of fate. So we're on the move. After 7 years at Ipswich, kids settled, was settled as a family, we're moving. So we go up to Barnsley, meet Eric and Danny, and I went in to meet Danny, and I mean, there was I was going to sign, simple as that. There wasn't much doubt about that. I remember we'd played them a few times previously, and always sort of the place a really good brand of football. I remember Ariane playing, and they were just a really good team. A little bit underestimated by a lot of clubs. And I went and negotiated my contract, and just as I'm coming out of the office, where I'm coming out from Danny, I turned around to him and said, "What about a bonus for promotion?" And he started laughing. Anyway, we agreed a figure, and it was put in the contract. So when that happened, end of that season, that was like just pennies from heaven, so to speak. It was just really a bit weird. And when you go to a new club, I knew quite a few of the players. I knew Redders because he started off as an apprentice at Forest, a year younger than me. Although he left and went, I think he got homesick, went and played at Bolton. I think that was where he went to. And I knew Paul Wilkinson. I played for Humberside Cricket under 15s with Wilco. He was an opening bat, really good bat. I was captain, and so I knew Wilco from then. And you just realise from them first training sessions, I thought, ooh, this is tasty. The ball's moving quick, the intensity's high, players are hungry, they're motivated, and there was a real good camaraderie about them. Again, like I've said earlier. And so it transpired. You just thought, all right. I mean, I think I was recovering that pre-season from an Achilles operation. So I went back pre-season. I want full tilt, and I had an average pre-season. I think actually Danny left me out one of the pre-season games. So I'm thinking this is a great start. And then we played that first game at West Brom. And from that day forward, you just knew there was something special here. You just had an inkling because we played really well. Could have won more comfortably than the 2-1, I think, wasn't it? I think 2-1. And I just remember the buzz in the dressing room afterwards. I remember John Dennis coming and the look on his face, because I think he was quite friendly with David Sheepshanks from Ipswich. And I think they'd had a conversation about me, whether David had said, "Oh, you've got a good one there," or "You got a bad one, I don't know." Had a reasonable game. So from that first game, from pre-season, from the sessions that were taking place, the camaraderie between the group, and that first game really give you an inkling, and then we know what happened the next 4 games after that. So it gives you a really good foothold into the season starting.
Yeah, as you say, we go 5 from 5 at the start of the season. we beat Stoke at Oakwell. Can you remember just how well you hit that ball, and is that the best goal you've scored in your career?
Well, it was just, well, I don't think it hits it better. It's sweet as a nut, and certainly it's more than up there, that is for sure. I've scored 1 or 2 important ones. There was a real important one down at Ipswich, different type of goal, right in the last, I think in injury time on Easter against Southend, which was really important for the team going up. But actually, spectacle of that goal, I think it's probably as good as it gets, and it just come off your foot. It's one of them. It's like when you play golf, you hit a good shot, you don't feel it come off your club, and I didn't feel it come off my foot. So that was don't know what I was doing about my celebrations like afterwards.
But look, you touched on it a little bit just there, saying how you felt there was something special about that squad just from joining up with them for training in that first game. But for some fans, those 5 from 5 were enough to have us believing for the rest of the season. Can you remember during the season when that one point was where you thought, hang on a second, we really could go up here?
I can't really say one specific point, to be fair, but I just knew there was a belief in the squad. And even, like I said, with the Ipswich team, when we didn't play particularly well, we ended up getting a result. I think I was injured. I think it was I was doing the commentary on the radio at Wolves, and I think it was 2-2. And I remember you think that's a great result, 2-2. That's decent, and we kept picking points up, and then we'd go on a little run, then we'd lose a game, and then so yeah, it was. I mean, Bolton I think they won by a few points in the end, but they were the team everyone was tipping. But we played just a brilliant brand of football. It was really front foot stuff. Danny made it clear from the off pre-season what he wanted. Everyone understood that. Everyone knew the strengths of it. Everybody. I mean, we had the two fattest wing backs in the league. That's why Oakwell's got a camber on it. I think me and Nicky Eden. But there was we just played some good football, and the fans warmed to that. And the fans that season were incredible. Just like watching Brazil was like every game was fabulous.
You mentioned Bolton, who won the league by a few points in the end. But when we beat Sheffield United before Christmas, it meant we were top of the league going into Christmas Day. Can you remember what it was like being top of the Championship over Christmas dinner?
Well, I think I had a hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if was that the one at Bramall Lane when.
Yeah, you weren't in the team. Shez played wide left, I think.
I think I was up in the commentary box again, helping with the commentary. But yeah, it was just. I mean, the lads were so laid back and just set of great lads. Just no egos. If anyone's got a bit too big for the boots, they got knocked down pretty sharpish and. We just took it all in our stride. I didn't feel there was any nervousness or anyone getting too big for the boots. Obviously, a little bit later in the season when it's getting close, it's a little slightly different. But just people went out and played, and Danny gave you that freedom to play, and that's how we played all season. And yeah, during the season, you're going to get bad performances. You're going to get injured. You're going to get booked. You're going to get sent off. Things are going to go against you, but the beauty of the team was that whoever came in performed, and you had Clint Marcel playing in that number 10 role, but when he was out, Bully came in and did a job. You had Hendo and Wilco up front, and Andy Liddell competing for places. Shez, Redders, Yovo. You had such just really good lads and good players.
And you talk about ups and downs and lose one week, win two on the bounce the next. How did Danny and Eric try and keep the squad grounded and together when it got down to the business end of the season?
I mean, they were tough and they demanded, that is for sure. Danny was tough manager. He didn't let your levels drop. And if anyone did step out of line, and usually it was Shez, then Danny would bring him back in. That is for sure. But that was, Darren was a cracking player. And he just had this. He was just a bit of just let it go, and he was just a bit of a mongrel, really, wasn't he? But he was a fantastic footballer. His 1 and 2 touch passing was something to behold, and he was tough. And yeah, he did toe the line a bit, but that was part of what made him a bit of a maverick at times. And yeah, I'm sure Danny. If you speak to Danny or Shez, they had the battles, but there was a whole deal of respect there. That is for sure.
It's interesting because everyone talks about how good a footballer Darren Sheridan was. Like literally everybody from that squad, which is brilliant. I personally started to believe we were going to get promoted after the Charlton home game when we were just unbelievable. We were unplayable. Charlton didn't even play that badly, but we won 4-0. You scored twice.
Yeah. One of them a right foot, I believe, as well.
It was right foot from about 7 yards, I think.
What the hell I was doing up there? But Danny gave you that freedom to do that. He gave you as a freedom as a wing back, me and Nicky, that you were more half full than half empty. The onus was on playing forward. And he wanted you on the front foot. He wanted you to, if their fullback got it, he wanted you to engage the fullback at a certain time, and then you pass your winger on to. I mean, I had Ariam behind me, which was quite nice. He'd drop into that role and pick up the wing if needed to be, and same the other side. And he just wanted to get forward and get balls in the box. And I mean, part of my game is more offensive anyway. I was brought up as a left winger at school and played midfield and got converted to left back when I was at Hull City. So for me as a player, my development was, I was always thinking forward, assists, set plays, getting a goal myself, having a shot, and I had to really sort of teach myself the defensive side of the game, which, I'll openly admit it wasn't the best part of my game, but I certainly, the older I got, the better at it I got, and you use your experience, But it was, there was a lot of freedom in the team. It was great.
And that second goal against Charlton, it's another. I mean, I don't know if it was just a knack, but when you hit the ball, it stayed hit, and that one almost zipped across the grass and straight into the bottom corner.
Yeah.
How much did you practice?
I just think it's like any player, the ball got someone might be a good dribbler, someone might be really quick. I had a decent left foot that I could hit a ball. And I knew that from a very, very early age at school. The kids wanted to get out of the way, and my hero as a player was Peter Lorimer at Leeds. And because of his shot, and you tried to emulate that as you went on the park pitch and did it, and it's just something that stays with you. So it's just you practice, but within training you practice anyway. That's just part of what you are, and luckily enough, that was my biggest attribute, I'm sure.
And we have to ask about the emotions of the Bradford game, with history was on the line, etc. Heading into that game at Oakwell, did Danny lean on the likes of you and Redders for that promotion experience to help us get over the line?
I don't think there was anything specific to the elder statesmen, shall we say, that like John and Wilco and myself and Neil. I think it was a given that that's what you did, of how you actually conducted yourself and set that example. Like Neil from midfield, his energy, he's wanting to get on the end of stuff and get his shots off as much as he possibly could, i.e. 16 league goals, 19 goals in the season, So he led by example on that. Wilco, how he led the line, and John, he was just a bit of a maverick, wasn't he? He was like something totally different. Bandy legs. I mean, he didn't look like, if it was a biscuit, they'd have chucked him out by now, Ben, I think, But he was just that X factor you needed. He'd bring something out of, it just produce something at really critical times. And I think Danny expected of the experienced players, and then it had dragged the young ones along as it did most of the season. So, that'd be my answer to that one.
And can you remember any of the younger players feeling nervous or looking nervous as we went into that Bradford game?
Not really. I think I can't remember any massive nerves. I'm sure there was. I mean, you really, in the dressing room, you're concentrating on yourself a little bit and getting yourself prepared from when you get to the ground to the warm-up to the game, and looking at your set plays, what needs to be done. And you have a chat with one or two, but I didn't really detect people frightened, because at the end of the day, we're in that position because we deserve to be in the position, because we played well all season with the group of players that we had going out on that, and the ones on the bench. And the ones on the bench, if you look at some of the pictures, they're up off their seats all the time, and obviously disappointing not to be playing. But you look at the pictures, and I think that's key to a squad. When you see the subs celebrating like they do, that tells you a whole lot about the squad.
And as someone who'd won the league with Ipswich, how did the celebrations compare, getting promoted with Barnsley to winning that league with Ipswich?
I can't remember any of the celebrations from anyone. Anyone will tell you a promotion, whether it's a championship or a runner-up spot, they're just things you just remember and you cherish, because they don't come along that often. And when you're lucky enough to be involved in one, it's something to really enjoy. You just like, you'll go out on the night and you won't want it to end, that is for sure. But it does, and you got to move on. But they are just absolutely brilliant. I think as well, it's a big relief for everybody. You've been in this pressure cooker of a season, 10 months or whatever it is, 40, 46 games. You've had the cup games to do. You've had all your training sessions, the pressure of being at the top of the league most of the season, people looking at you, the expectation for you to perform every week. And then suddenly when you do it, it's a massive release for everybody. You can't describe it. I mean, I'm sure the supporters they had great nights as well with the promotions at both clubs. But very, very similar clubs, group of players, very similar in terms of how they were as people. Certainly there to be enjoyed.
We finished the season. We were promoted. We finished the season with an interesting performance away at Oxford. What can you remember, or more likely, what you're allowed to tell us about our preparation and performance in that game?
They've celebrated a little bit too much, Ben, don't you? Yeah, the celebrations went on a bit after the Bradford game, but you've still got a game on the Saturday, and like I said, there it was a massive relief, and maybe people just put the foot off the gas. There's a little bit of Oxford, if I remember right. They did play very well, if I'm not mistaken, and they want to beat you. But you've got promotion. I must admit, coming off that pitch, it was quite disappointing. Well, it was really disappointing. I'm sure the supporters were disappointed about the result. For that moment when the whistle goes and you get beat 5, and then get in the dressing room, and there's a little bit, people are a little bit narked and angry about it, but then that was soon forgotten, that is for sure. But yeah, there was a little tinge of, I think we could have done a bit better there, and we didn't.
And so we are Premier League that summer, and as expected, recruitment went into overdrive, but obviously we had a limited budget. How was it with the new recruits mainly coming from abroad? And was there a bit of a divide like some players have spoken out about recently or in the last few years?
Whether there was or not, I mean, I sort of left and went out on loan. So when a lot of the changes in terms of personnel getting into the team and that, I was away on loan somewhere. So, I mean, I just looked at, I was like coming up to 34. And I had a history the last 2 or 3 years of getting little niggly injuries, and Darren Barnard brought in a brilliant player, great left foot, so no problems there whatsoever. And I'm a realist at the end of the day. I knew my chances might be few and far between. It's as simple as that. I've got to stay fit, and I've got to perform, because if I don't, I'll be out of the team. That's how it works. So, yeah, Darren was in the team. I played a few games. I think I played down at Arsenal. I think there was a game on the telly against Palace at home, I think, that I played in. There was 1 or 2 other games. I don't want to say about the Man United game, but we certainly did. But the actual Man United game, we watched the video on the Monday morning, and 3 years previous, I'd played in the 9-0 with Ipswich. So there's like a common denominator here, Ben, I think. But the 9-0 at Ipswich was pretty much a rout. It could have been a lot more. We watched the game against Man U when we played there with Barnsley, and they had about 11 shots, 12 shots, and we had enough opportunities, but they were just that clinical. Scholes give an exhibition, on the day of what sort of player he was, that is for sure. So the humbling moments, and I can't say that we went there and didn't try, because we did. It's just when you get beat by a better team, by better players, that's, you got to hold your hands up and you move on and you get on to the next. I think that actually might have been my last game, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it was disappointing, but like I say, I'm a realist. I was 34, had a few injuries. The pace of the game had increased a lot. Younger people were about with fresher legs, and I knew very well it was time to move on.
You'll be glad to know I took out the question that was, what's it like to lose 16-0 at Man United?
Waiting for the home legs. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not finished yet. So are you quite happy going out on loan and finding you didn't think that you wanted one more crack at it in terms of the Premier League?
Well, I think when someone accepts an offer for you to go out on loan, it tells you that you're really not in the plans. So I won't going to sit around and twiddle my thumbs. I'm a footballer. I want to go play football. I don't want to sit there training and sitting on the bench and no particular reason to. It's different if you're a young player and you're breaking into the team and you sat about waiting for your opportunity. I'd had my opportunity, and an opportunity with Neil Warnock, funnily enough, at Oldham. Took me for 2 months. And I went and started playing football again. I think I had something like 10 games in 2 months. Didn't get injured, which was great. And after the 2 months, I think Oldham's left back at the time had got himself fit again, and I come back to Oakwell. And I think that was, and then just after Christmas, I think I had the opportunity to go. I think there was 2 clubs. There was Port Vale, which I was a little bit reticent about, and then York City came in. Which, travelling purposes, a young family, I thought my time of life, that's maybe the right thing to do. And I went there as like on loan, did really well. Dropping down a level. I certainly the players weren't quite as quick, or dropping down 2 levels, that was for sure. So you could use your head a little bit more. And yeah, I played there the rest of the season. And in the summer, Alan Little, who was the manager, offered me a job as player coach.
And you kind of played a few more seasons in as a player, and then you swapped the pitch for the dugout, where you managed York, as you mentioned, Boston and Scarborough. How do you look back on your time as a manager, and did you enjoy it as much as you did playing?
Nothing. Everything after playing is an anticlimax. That is for sure. But it was natural progression that I wanted to go on to the coaching side of the game, and an opportunity arose at York as player manager. I was 35, 36, and looking back, I was a little bit hot-headed, a little bit young, inexperienced in the managerial side. I was playing as well, so that was an added pressure. We were in a relegation fight. I think we actually won something like 5 out of the last 11 and went down, or 4 out of the last 11. And I think Wycombe won 9 out of 10. And we only went down on the last 20 minutes of the season. And our last game of the season was at Man City, which was the season they went out of the division, if you remember, when they went down into Division 1 or Division 2 as it was. So, yeah, but I was there the next season, and yeah, it probably wasn't the right time for me. And, you know, I moved on after that. I think I lasted till about the February. Certainly, if I'd have been a bit more experienced, it might have been different. But managing's certainly a precarious business, that is for sure. You're only as good as your last result, and that's certainly the case. But I went back up to Scarborough. Colin Anderson was manager at Scarborough, a well-known manager, and he got me there playing and got me coaching. Then Colin retired at the end of the season, and I took over the manager's job. And it was when the club was in a lot of financial issues. I mean, weren't paying the players, so I had to rely on a lot of young players coming up from the youth team. And in fact, I think we finished sort of mid-table, but I think we did really well with the young players we had. I think that was certainly on the managing side, that was one of me, you know, I look back and think, yeah, we did a good job there. Did a really good job. And sometimes things conspire against you, different owners, clubbing financial problems, CVAs, and it's time to move on, which I did.
And you mentioned right at the start how you working closely with Gary Monk and Steve Bruce before him. When you look at the job of a manager now, how much does it differ to when you first took those first couple of jobs as a manager? Well,
I think the FA have educated coaches and managers a lot more than they did when it was sort of just starting up, when all the FA courses, and, you know, people like frown on them sometimes, but they do teach you stuff, how to be organised, how to delegate, man management, all that sort of stuff, and get you very structured. I think nowadays there's a lot more support staff, sports scientists, analysts, physios, masseurs. You know, we'd go to a game, there'd be me assistant manager, and the physio. That was it, job done. And the players. Ultimately, the bottom line is it's about the players. You've got to get them on side to get your results, and you'll be judged by your results, whether you win, lose, or draw. And no one looks at what's behind you. Certainly, the support system now in terms of managing, but the pressure's still the same. You know, probably more now in terms of social media, TV, Sky, supporters. The pressure's so intense. You know, and everybody can't win. You know, you can't. No one can win every game, and no one can be successful. Someone's got to fail in the season. You know, there's a few teams that don't perform, and you've got to stay resilient and stick to your beliefs when you get into the job. Yeah, and I think a lot of the managers, they know that anyway. And the hardened, you've got to have a really thick skin. That is for sure.
And look, going back to your playing career, you played over 600 first team games in total, so you had a fantastic career. Which one person would you say had the biggest influence on you in terms of football?
I think if you've only got one person, I think, yeah, you might have. I mean, I look at my dad when I was growing up, and I look at a school teacher at school, a guy called Rod Whitfield, who died at a very early age, who really drove me through them school years. And I think what they teach you is the values of what you're about, your work ethic and your motivation to actually go and do it. And they push you. You know, the ferry, you know, you look at academy kids now, the parents ferry them everywhere. Do the kids appreciate that? They probably won't until later on in life. And I think all the managers I've played under, you take something from a lot of them. I look at Neil Warnock at Scarborough, transform that club from a mid-table team into a promotion-winning team, and certainly elevated my game and got it into a position where I could actually kickstart it and go and have a career that ended up playing in the Premier League. They give you that belief. You go down to Ipswich, John Duncan gives me opportunity there in terms of buying me. And I still speak to John now. He's a mentor for the LMA, and he's certainly a lot more chilled out now than he was when he was a manager. John Lyle, who was just like a father figure to everyone at Ipswich. And Danny just give you that confidence. He just let you go and play. And I had a few injuries, little niggly injuries at Barnsley, and I think my belief came from when I was fit, he tended to put me in the team with minimal training. He was wanting me to get back in that promotion-winning team, and that was really good for my confidence. So, yeah, and Eric as well behind the scenes, just giving you little snippets. There's lots and lots of people which you can take. Now I watch Gary work now at Sheffield Wednesday, and some of the stuff he does is like, oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, and every manager you take something from. But above all else, a lot of being a footballer and is that belief and that work ethic and being able to bounce back from the disappointments that we do have in the game.
We said at the start a couple of times, you were only at Oakwell a short time, but you made a huge impact on the club and the fans, and you were part of that phenomenal season. Did you make friends for life at Oakwell, despite not being with us so long?
I've got a thing, like footballers, you met loads of friends, but they're more like acquaintances sometimes, and I don't mean that offensively, because not everyone, if you kept in touch with everybody, you'd never be off the phone. When you meet up, you're like just your mates all over again. You reminisce and you look back at them times, which is absolutely brilliant. And I speak to every now and then. I'll speak to Nicky Eden. I'll speak to Simon Milton down at Ipswich. I'll speak to Redders. I've worked with Redders a few times since we left Oakwell. Paul Wilkinson I've worked with at Wednesday. John Hendry. You meet, and yeah, it's as if you've never been apart from that person. It's you make a bond when you play football and you're successful. You actually make a bond that you'll, when you meet them back up again, and life moves on. You move to another club, and people have busy lives, and you don't live in each other's pockets when you've been at that club. That's it. You move on to the next. But yeah, fantastic friends, fantastic acquaintances. Call it what you want. Met some brilliant people along the way. That is for sure.
And I know you live and work local, so the answer to this question is obvious, as we talked about earlier today. But given the time you had at Barnsley, is a coaching opportunity one you'd welcome if you were to move on from Sheffield Wednesday?
Now, Ben, I'm not getting involved in that is for sure. But I would just like to get back on the coaching pitch at the minute in the situation we're in. I've been at Wednesday now, 8-9 years, and I love it. I've done work with the first team, work with the 23s. I'm enjoying working with the gaffer at the minute, and we just can't wait to get back and start coaching again, and hopefully getting this season finished as long as it's safe for everybody to do so, and then we move on to next season.
Brilliant answer. Finally to close out. Look, we know that you're good on the after dinner circuit, so two more questions. What's the funniest football story that you can share pre-Watershed?
Putting me under pressure. Well, I did a little bit of after dinner speak, and then football sort of took a bit of a backseat because you're busy with your football. But I remember there was a guy at Hull City called Billy Whitehurst, who is synonymous with a lot of people. Real hard player, fantastic to have on your team. Just he run through a brick wall for you. And if he said it was Sunday, you started praying, Ben. That is for sure. And I remember one time the manager was Colin Appleton, and I was only a young kid. I was 19, and I just sort of got in Hull City's team. And we're all huddled in the dressing room before about 1:45 before the 3 o'clock kickoff. And we're all huddled round the notice board. The manager's not named the team yet, and he comes in and he puts the team up on the board, and Billy's not in the team. So I can hear him behind me, and he's grunting, and he's obviously not very happy. There's steam coming out his ears. And with that, he shouts, "Gaffer, I want a word with you." and he walked. Well, he really just about frog marks the manager down to his office, which was just down the corridor. And we're all like sniggering, thinking, what the hell's going on? There's a bit of a rumpus. Anyway, 2 or 3 minutes later, he walks back in the dressing room. The manager puts a team up on the board, and he's in the team. So I mean, that made us all laugh a little bit then, that is for sure. So, I mean, there's quite a few more, but I think, as you say, we'll have to keep it below the watershed.
And is there one that's just about your time from Barnsley that you can share?
Well, it's probably like I've probably used poetic license on this one, but we're on a night out in Barnsley. I think we'd had fancy dress. I think I went as the Incredible Hulk or something stupid like that, and Darren Sheridan was dressed up as one of the Seven Dwarfs, and we're out in a bar. And Shez says, "I need to get some money," so. He had to run down this alleyway to a corridor, to a speed bank, whatever a cash point. And anyway, he's been gone ages, and he's got this big outfit on. It's got like one of the, the mesh metal things that hold the outfit together. So his movement's not great in it. Anyway, he's been gone about half an hour, and you're thinking, where the hell's he got to? So anyway, next minute he comes up the alleyway, and he's bedraggled. His hair's all over the shop. His outfit's ripped. And you're going, what's gone on, Shez? He said, well, when I got my money out, I got jumped and they pushed me to the floor and I couldn't get up. So they're beating me up and kicking my money out. And he said, I'm not happy. I said, well, which one are you then? Well, I mean, we used to have some really good nights out with the Barnsley lads. They were class. I mean, Shez was a laugh. What a character. But some brilliant players, some great characters at the club, and thoroughly enjoyed my time. That is for sure.
It always involves Shez. I think that whenever you ask that question, it always involves Shez.
Yeah, great character, great footballer, and certainly was at the brunt of all the stuff going on in the dressing room. That is for sure. As was John Hendry and myself. We had a good bit of banter. That is for sure.
Well, that's a brilliant note to end on, because it's got me in tears here. So, look, thanks so much for being open and honest. Brilliant dive into your footballing career and a look back at that amazing season at Oakwell. All
right, I thoroughly enjoyed it, Ben, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure I'm allowed to wish your current employers much luck over the next few weeks, but I'm sure I can speak for all Barnsley fans and wish you as much personal success as possible.
Thanks, Ben. Much appreciated.
Look, quick final words before we go. Josh Scowen is still hanging in the balance for Thursday because Sunderland are League One and I think they're still furloughed. But we have got Ethan Pinnock next Tuesday, Ashley Ward next Thursday. And as always, though, we're speaking to more and more players all the time as we try and keep this going for as long as we need it. Neil, thanks again and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers. Thanks, Ben. Much appreciated.
Everyone else, stay safe and speak to you soon.